Chase is closing credit card accounts permanently without warning. Let's say you saved up thousands of Ultimate Rewards points that you were going to use for a bucket list trip later this year. But when you go to swipe your Chase Sapphire Preferred card, it gets auto declined. You call Chase and they say all 3 of your Chase cards have been canceled, but they won't tell you why. They just tell you wait until you get a letter in the mail and that you only have days to use your points before you lose them forever. Then you start scrambling and thinking about how you can use the points and begging them to reinstate your account, but there's nothing they can do. Banks like Chase have the right to close all of your accounts whenever or for whatever reason without any prior notice. It's scary, right? Later in the video, you'll find out how Chase continues to monitor your credit report months after you get approved for behaviors that they don't like, how raising your credit limit can actually hurt your relationship with Chase, and the #1 reason why Chase will close your accounts without thinking twice about it. Now, I bet you didn't know that Chase can shut down your accounts because of what credit card companies call universal default. That means Chase can close your account based on how you perform with any other bank by looking at your credit report from time to time. Check out this data point. They said a Chase customer received a notification that their Chase Freedom card could no longer be used despite having the account in good standing for 4 years. They recently applied for and were approved for a Chase Slate card and also had a Discover card, all without any late payments or chargebacks. Upon contacting Chase, the cardholder was informed that a random credit check revealed an old Discover account from 2015 with a charge-off and multiple late payments. This account was actually fraudulently opened under the cardholder's name, which was discovered after the Equifax data breach. And despite disputing the account multiple times, Discover continues to report it. The cardholder was frustrated by Chase's lack of consultation before closing the account, so they went to get some advice and experiences from others with Chase account closures. And the person this happened to even said, it sucks that you put so much effort into staying in good standings with a financial company just for them to close your accounts without consulting with you. Now, imagine doing everything right for years, making sure all your payments are on time and keeping your accounts in good standing, only to get hit with a notification out of the blue saying your card can't be used. And then to find out it's because of some old fraudulent account that you thought was taken care of. That would be incredibly frustrating. And credit card companies are constantly monitoring your credit report, sometimes on a monthly basis. If they see that you mistreated another bank, they're likely to automatically assume that they're up next and close your accounts first. And here's what I would try to do to fix this situation. You can start by visiting a Chase branch. You want to take all necessary paperwork, including police reports and dispute documents. Then you want to speak directly to a manager to explain the situation. And since they had an issue with Discover, I would try contacting Discover next and just be persistent in requesting removal of the fraudulent account from their credit report. And if Discover refuses to remove it, then you can try filing a report with the CFPB or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And you can even go to your state's attorney general and file a complaint with the FTC as well. The next reason Chase is closing a ton of accounts is due to too many inquiries. You could make it past the 524 rule and still get tripped up after you get approved for a Chase credit card because of having too many new credit card inquiries. Check out this data point. They said, well, I just found out this morning that most of my Chase credit cards were closed after a periodical review. Not pissed off or anything, was just a little surprised initially that Chase will take action against me instead of Barclays. I called in and talked to a lender and he explained the reason behind the closure. Basically, I had too many recent inquiries. I had 14 in Experian in the past 12 months, several due to an auto lease and loan, and I obtained too much credit over the past year. So I gotta be honest, I've been noticing this happening in the data points between 7 to 10 years ago most often. So you're at a lower risk right now, but never forget, Chase is capable of this type of behavior. Most credit card companies call it credit seeking when you rapidly apply for new cards. To the banks, it looks like you're in a desperate need of money and they assume you could apply for a bunch of new credit and never repay the debt. And to prevent this from happening to you, you could be mindful of the number of credit inquiries on your report, especially within the last 12 months. And you should consider spacing out your applications to avoid triggering reviews like this. And if you're tired of getting hit with hard inquiries for every last credit card application and always risking denial, then you got to check out my free credit card pre-approval master list so you can see over 60 cards that only soft pull your credit to get pre-approved. That way, you have next to 100% confidence before you apply so you don't waste a hard pull and get nothing in return. So just hit the link below to get instant access. The next mistake you might be making is filing too many disputes on your credit card account. You might think filing a quick dispute or chargeback on an item you bought is harmless, but Chase doesn't see it that way. Getting that quick refund could lead to a closed account if you abuse it. Check out this data point. It said, so over the year, I had a handful of disputes, all for legit reasons. Last week, Chase closed my credit cards for a bank policy violation and a pattern of abuse. I don't even understand how they're defining abuse. If I received damaged goods and merchants weren't willing to resolve, that's where the bank intervenes. Is someone not looking at the bigger picture here? Or am I supposed to take the losses? I'm so perplexed here because no abuse was committed. Now, this situation sounds a bit complicated. While it's definitely concerning that Chase closed their accounts, I'm wondering if there might be some more to the story. Banks typically don't close accounts for a few disputes, especially if they're legitimate. And you know what? They mentioned having a handful of disputes over the year. Even if they were for all good reasons, it's possible Chase's system flagged their account as a high risk. Sometimes frequent disputes can look like a pattern of abuse, even if that's not your intention. So a solution to this problem would be keeping those disputes to a minimum. Try to get refunds and resolve issues directly with the merchant before involving the bank. Too many disputes can make your account look risky to the bank systems. And then you want to diversify who you're banking with. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Open accounts with multiple banks so you're not overly reliant on one. This way, if one bank shuts you down, you still have access to your money and credit elsewhere. Now, the next mistake is credit cycling. So banks want you to use their cards more, but not too much. Credit cycling is when you repeatedly max out your credit card, then pay it off, and then max it out again within a single billing cycle. It's like running your credit limit multiple times in a short period. And here's a data point to back that up. They said, I applied for a Chase Inc. Business Premier because my business spends a decent amount every month, and I was a fan of the 2 to 2.5% cash back they offered. On the application, I made it known that we spend $800,000 to $1 million+ per year. This is the last day before my card was locked. Here are the transactions I did on it in the 2 months before it was locked. I did 110 transactions at PayPal totaling $82,500, then 52 transactions at Amazon totaling $2.8 million, and then 15 transactions at AliExpress totaling $1.8 million, and 1 transaction at Pixlr totaling $9. These are all of the transactions I made, and credit limit they gave me was $15,000. So it's surprising that Chase only gave them a $15,000 limit when you think you could prove higher business revenue during signup. Banks, especially ones like Chase, often see this as a red flag. They might think it looks suspicious, like you're trying to manipulate your available credit, or worse, it could trigger fraud alerts because it resembles patterns of money laundering. So what you could do is avoid credit cycling altogether. You can pay off your credit card bill like any other bill once a month to avoid triggering fraud alerts. And another solution is you could start using charge cards, which typically have no preset spending limits, so they can handle relatively high business expenses. Cards from Amex like the Business Gold Card, and then you got corporate cards like Ramp and Divvy would work perfectly for this use case. And I really think the Divvy corporate card would have worked the best in this situation because their spending was so high, and credit limits with Divvy go up to $5 million. And whatever limit you start with actually scales up based on your business revenue. Plus, unlike with Chase, Divvy never hard pulls your credit to get approved. They even give you up to 7x points on all dining purchases, and they never report to the personal credit bureaus, only to the Small Business Financial Exchange on the business side. And you can check out Divvy and you can sign up for free by hitting the link below, and you can get a credit limit that actually fits your business. Now, the next mistake is doing cash-like transactions. So cash-like transactions refers to any purchase or activity that resembles taking out cash. This includes buying things like gift cards, money orders, or using payment services like PayPal and Venmo to transfer money. Here's an example. They said, Chase just killed me without any reason in their letter. Is it because I buy a lot of Visa and MasterCard gift cards? I mean, yes, I buy a lot of them and I use them all the time to buy things online for my business. I pay taxes, pay bills, and more. They could just ask me or warn me or freeze the account until they ask, or just close that card. Now, this person went way too hard and tried to maximize their rewards, and they really paid the price here. Banks often see that these transactions are risky because they can be used for things like money laundering or even fraud. So here's what you can do. Don't purchase gift cards with your credit card. Use your cards the way that Chase intended them to be used, for purchases with different merchants. So I realized something extremely interesting. Your credit limit can actually be too high for some banks like Chase. Check out this data point. Chase closed my accounts. I've applied to 2 Chase cards the past month-ish, one with a $19,000 credit limit and the other with a $20,000 credit limit. I didn't need these limits. This is just what they gave me. I spoke to the risk department. Reason they closed my account was because my credit limit relative to my credit history. And you should know any limit Chase chooses to give you normally shouldn't be a problem. It's only when high limits are coupled with fast account opening that it likely becomes an issue. Banks like Chase like to limit how much exposure they have to any one person to limit the risk of you defaulting and not repaying your debt. Next, making too many deposits from a bunch of different sources into your Chase account can cause total account failure. Check this out. They said, so my Chase account got closed with checking, saving, and credit cards. Long story short, I'm a contractor and I would get multiple deposits sent to my personal account, and Chase didn't like that and closed my accounts. They said I should have used a business account to receive those multiple deposits. Now, banks like Chase close personal accounts that receive business deposits mainly to stay compliant with regulations and prevent fraud. Mixing business and personal transactions can raise red flags for money laundering or illicit activities, which banks want to avoid. Plus, business transactions are riskier and need special monitoring that personal accounts aren't designed for. So what you can do is just open and use business accounts for all your business related deposits and transactions to avoid complications with your personal accounts. Next, you can have too many authorized users. So an authorized user is someone you add to your credit card account so they can use your card without being responsible for the payments. It's like giving them permission to borrow your credit card. They get their own card with their name on it, but the main account holder is still the one who gets the bill and has to make sure it gets paid. And adding authorized users to your account can help a loved one build credit fast, and it's really an underused benefit. But remember, you can't just start adding everybody. Take a look at this data point. It said, had Chase between 2012 and 2016, closed after applying for Sapphire and adding authorized users, which were my relatives. They closed all my old accounts and new accounts, and even my wife's credit card with Chase was also affected. So we are banned for sure. So from Chase Bank's perspective, having too many authorized users can be a red flag for potential fraud and increased risk. They worry that multiple users might misuse the account or rack up high spending that the primary account holder can't even manage. And to protect against those risks, they might close the account to keep things secure and under control. So here's what you can do. You just limit those authorized users that you have on your account. Only include close family members in the same household and definitely in the same country. Now, another thing you might be doing is making too large of a transaction. Most people don't know that credit limits are not real. Your credit limit and your entire account can be changed by the bank at any time. Here's a data point. It said Chase account closed suddenly. A large transaction was made this month through PayPal, and I just opened the card this month. I just called customer service to pay off all the amount owed, and now I have to wait for the amount to post for me to request a reinstatement. Now, I think this is really unfair because Chase should at least allow you to hit your sign-up bonus in the first month before shutting you down. But Chase is really in the business of managing risk, and new accounts lack a transaction history that banks use to assess normal spending patterns. So a significant charge without prior history can appear suspicious, prompting the bank to shut down the account to prevent potential losses. My only tip here is that you want to avoid maxing out your credit cards immediately. The next issue you might run into is returned payments. So this is fairly common and an innocent mistake that there's no coming back from. And a return payment is basically when you try to make a payment, like paying a bill or your credit card, and it doesn't go through. It's kind of like writing a check and not having enough money in your account to cover it. The bank just returns the payment because the funds aren't available. Here's what one person said. They said, Chase closed my credit card account out of nowhere. I was very confused because as far as I know, I've never missed a payment and my payments have always been on time. When I got my letter, it said recently returned payments on one or more of your accounts with Chase. I didn't realize my debit card had a limit on how much I could spend on bills and return my payment. I explained this to Chase and they said it was fine. that it wouldn't affect my account. I have approximately 67,000 points that I don't want to lose. Now, I've noticed that banks tend to be more cutthroat the moment they see a payment bounce, and it's really unfortunate. From the bank's point of view, shutting down an account after a return payment is all about managing risk. They're super cautious about anything that might hint at financial instability or fraud. Plus, accounts with frequent issues like this are just more expensive to handle, so closing them can actually save the bank money. So to stop this from happening, you want to always pay your credit card bills with ACH transfer, not debit card. And to protect those points from being lost, you want to transfer those points to a travel partner or redeem the points for cash back into your bank account. Now, another mistake people make is inactivity, or leaving their cards dormant. And with credit cards, you really use it or lose it. And with no usage, you end up with no account. Check this out. They said, a while ago, I received a notice that my Chase Freedom account would be closed due to inactivity. I did not want to lose it and thought I used the card for a nominal purchase, but it turns out I did not. I think it was locked when I tried. I didn't have time to deal with it, and I forgot to try again. So one thing you got to know is that for banks, inactive accounts are more trouble than they're worth. Maintaining these accounts still costs money, but they aren't generating any revenue through interest or fees. Plus, those unused credit lines could be better allocated to active customers who actually use their cards. So by shutting down inactive accounts, banks can cut costs and make better use of their resources. So you really want to start using your limit. Pay for small purchases like recurring streaming services or chips at the gas station. Never let your card sit longer than 6 to 12 months without a purchase on it. Another mistake you might be making is having too many new accounts. This next story will blow your mind with how carelessly they opened so many new Chase credit cards in such a short time frame. Here's the data point. They said, apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred for the sign-up bonus because I had a big purchase in mind. I was approved for the card and closed it a week later because my big purchase got canceled. I would have trouble spending the $4,000 in 3 months to hit that sign-up bonus. So after closing the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I applied for the Chase Freedom Unlimited and wanted to start getting the Chase Trifecta. And the plan was to eventually get the Chase Sapphire Preferred back once I have a big purchase coming up. So after closing the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I got approved for the Chase Freedom Unlimited and wanted to get the Freedom Flex next. So I applied for the Freedom Flex and got denied due to too many credit pulls and attempts. So a week later, Chase closed my Freedom Unlimited card. I called the customer service and they said they were suspicious that I opened and closed the Chase Sapphire Preferred and then applied for the Chase Freedom Unlimited and Freedom Flex pretty much days after. Now, I gotta say, this is the most ridiculous story I've read in a long time. This person really has nightmare written all over them. Don't be like this person, going absolutely crazy over every sign-up bonus to the point that you apply and cancel a credit card within days. Chase really dodged a bullet by shutting this person down before they started terrorizing their customer service agents. Opening and quickly closing down the Chase Sapphire Preferred card looks suspicious and can be seen as trying to game the system. Then applying for multiple credit cards in a short time frame suggests potential financial instability and fraud, really. And just think about it, that pattern of opening and then closing and then reapplying for credit cards so quickly is going to raise red flags. And next, you want to really avoid any missed payments. Out of all the 50 plus data points, the number one reason Chase will shut down your account is due to missed payments. And it really makes sense, right? Banks don't make money if you don't pay your bill. Here's the data point. So basically my fiance had a pretty good 700 plus credit score for a while. She had a Chase Freedom, an Amazon, and a Chase Sapphire, the last of which I was an authorized user on. Long and short of it, we effed up our auto pay, and through stupidity, we ran up the card to its limit of $19,000 and stopped paying for a few months. Chase ended up closing her Freedom and Amazon card, even though those were always paid and had no balance. And they closed out the Chase Sapphire card. So this doesn't happen to you. You can use payment reminders. You want to set up recurring reminders on your phone for your due date to pay manually. And then you want to use auto pay to schedule every credit card bill to pay that statement balance before the due date. And even though Chase is closing accounts often, it's definitely not the worst when it comes to shutdowns. Not even by a long shot. There's actually two banks you might want to avoid because they close accounts at such a high rate and they don't have the good reputation and great credit card lineup that Chase does. Hit the next video to find out what two banks to avoid and save yourself the nightmare of losing $50,000+ in credit overnight. And thank you for watching.